So today I'm going to be answering a question. I would love for you to also answer this question. I would love if you commented, some of your answers. You can email me your, answers if you want to chat about it. My inbox is always open. But today we will be talking about what do you need to empty so God can fill? Y'all, this earbud, I just, it keeps sliding up my ear. I'm gonna keep messing with it. I just don't like when it slips. But what do you need to fill? Sorry. What do you need to empty so that God can fill? I need to empty my need for control. I don't necessarily like control, but control feels safe, right? It is trauma related, but control feels safe. Control allows me to know that the outcome I'm afraid of isn't going to happen because I have the control. And that's like a false sense of control. That's like, not everything's going to turn out the way I want it to because that's just not life. But in my mind, I feel like if it's in my hands, all things will be okay. And so I want to relinquish control so that God can fill it with trust. Trusting that God is not only who he says he is, but he is going to do what he says he will do. And so that applies to almost any and everything for me. And then just stepping outside of faith-based, how control just it challenges the way I show up as a spouse, as like a wife sometimes, and I have to take a step back because I don't always know everything. I don't always have the right answers, and that's why it's two of us. So I have to take a step back and allow, my husband to say, let's look at that again. Let's challenge that thought, or let him take the lead on some things. But like I said, control feels safe. So sometimes I'm like, do you know what you're doing? When I'm trying to take a step back, and it can be so tough. Like I said, stepping out of faith base. For the longest, my husband did not take maybe my first son. Our first son, to any of his doctor's appointments because I felt like I needed to be there. What if you miss something? What if they say something and I'm not there and you don't understand what, all the things. And so I had to, I'm not always, I don't want to say I'm not available because I am, but I don't always want to be the one to take him to his doctor's appointments. I feel like that's why it's two of us. That's why it's a partnership. So the first time I let my husband take our oldest son to his doctor's appointment, first of all, I had to relinquish the control that I'm not driving. When I drive, in my mind, I feel like everybody is safe. Now we know that I can, disassociate sometimes while I'm driving. I'm not always just, sometimes accidents aren't even the person that's driving. It's not their fault. So I had to take that out of my mind that, okay, I'm not driving. So if I'm not driving, what's happening? Then getting him to the appointment and just being there and asking all the right questions. And, oh, hey, this came up. I had to relinquish all of that. And when I tell you, and then I had to relinquish the control of wanting to be on the phone with him the whole time he drove to the appointment. Because in my mind, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to know that you were doing what you were supposed to do, paying attention, all the things. Control. That's what I wanted. So it was hard. I was probably just pacing back and forth, biting my nails, trying not to call him and be like, you made it? You okay? Where you at? I was doing my best. I just was like, okay, I'm just going to wait for him to text me that they made it. And he texted me that they made it. He called me while in the appointment. Like, do you have any questions for her? Of course I did. And then they got back home safe. And so I was like, so it's not that hard. It's not that hard to relinquish control. I had to start very, very small. Okay. And so I would like, not just in faith-based, but people. I don't trust people. I don't trust a lot of things. And so I have to start learning that if God placed these people in my life and they have good intentions, of course he has seen them before I have, right? So I have to trust that these people mean me well. And I have to trust that they mean no harm. And I have to trust that. You know, you have to go in with trust. That's kind of how relationships start, but not with me. I don't really trust nobody. So I'm working on that. So yeah. I pray that I am able to release that control, empty that control, and fill it with trust. And so then my second one is fear. Like I said, my fear can be paralyzing to me. Sometimes my fear makes decisions for me. And it definitely impacts how I show up as a mother and as a spouse. I have a lot of trauma. And so that definitely impacts me. It makes me more fearful of people, places, things, all of the things. And so I'm really wanting to empty my fear and again, have God fill it with trust. Trusting that my kids are going to be okay when I command angels over them and I pray over them that they are protected, that they are covered from the top of their head to the sole of their feet, that Jesus is not only who he says he is, but he's gonna do it. He's gonna protect them. He's gonna make sure that they're okay. And so I have to release that. I have to release all these fears that I have. Sometimes the fears don't even make sense, you know, but in therapy, I'm learning that trauma is just not in a box. It goes with you. It shows up every day. And the older my oldest son gets, the more I'm realizing that I have to work on. It's like he gets older and it's like, oh, gotta work on that. Oh, gotta work on that. Oh, he triggered that. Not necessarily him, but maybe that behavior triggered that. Oh, gotta work on that. Or, you know, and it's just like, yeah. He probably heightens my fears. So, I am working on my fears, not controlling my decision making, and how I show up. And so I would love for God to fill that with trust. So yeah, I guess I will let him to fill both of those with trust. Learning to not only trust that he is going to do what he said he will, moving as if it is already done. And that's it. So that is what I need to empty and what I'd like God to fill. This is Finishing My Coffee mini sips. I hope that this reaches someone and encourages them. And if you are like me, who can get stuck in the need for control and being paralyzed by fears and intrusive thoughts and all the things that maybe my synopsis of that will bless you and help you and keep you. And if you have a similar story like mine about my husband, because I have tons and tons, feel free to email me and we can chat about it. I could use your story anonymously. But anyway, yep, this is Finishing My Coffee. And yeah, you guys be blessed.